Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Thursday here on The Story, and tonight, Portland got its timber-filled, renovated airport, but could major changes be coming to air traffic control? The enormous price tag. Plus, Oregon Senator Ron Wyden claims the U.S. Treasury Department has thousands of financial files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and he wants them released to Congress and to the public. But first, Portlanders love their parks. But come this fall, we'll find out how much after Portland City Council approved a proposal to raise yet another tax in the Rose City. It's our big story tonight.
Don't like more taxes, but I'm willing to pay them because I think parks are super important.
I think that even though we pay a lot of taxes, it's a great investment to always put our public funds towards parks. We need those spaces for recreation and wildlife and just quality of life.
Well, that was the general consensus among Portlanders that we talked with today about a property tax increase proposal coming to the November ballot to pay for parks. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Oh my God, another tax increase in Portland. City councilors say it is the only way to keep the Parks Department from making major cuts. Parks are something Portlanders overwhelmingly said was the most important thing to them during budget talks earlier this year. Here's Council President Ilana Pertolgini.
We know that parks are part of what makes Portland different from other cities. We know that access to our pools and community centers is something that Portlanders have said in the past they're willing to make investments in.
Okay, the move to send an increased levy proposal to voters in November passed City Council yesterday in an 11-0 vote. Councilor Olivia Clark was not at the meeting. That same day, the Parks and Recreation Director resigned after 6 years running the Bureau. The reason for Adina Long's departure has not yet been made public, but everyone inside City Hall was pretty tight-lipped about it today. You could sense there was a vibe. No one wanted to talk with us about it, but back to that levy and what it's all about. Important to note, Portlanders are already paying a parks levy, but it expires next year. Parks and Rec is funded in part by the city's general fund, which is not doing well. And also, this levy, no federal or state money contributes to the city parks.
So we needed to either put that levy back on the ballot to ask Portlanders to continue to help us support our park system in this way, or face almost 50% cuts to the funding to keep our parks maintained.
In 2020, voters approved an 80-cent levy to pay for parks operations. It's a property tax on every $1,000 of assessed value. City Council is trying to increase that to $1.40, a 75% increase. For the median single-family residential property owner in Portland, assessed around $220,000, that would mean about $26 per month, an $11 increase per month, or about $130 more per year. Obviously, if your property is assessed at more than the median of $220,000, those numbers would be higher. The levy would last 5 years. Now, if you're a renter thinking, whatever, I don't pay property taxes, so of course I'll vote yes. Remember, your landlord does pay property taxes, so any increase to their bills could very likely trickle down to you. Now, the vast majority of the money raised by the levy would go toward park and recreation operations. The city estimates the new parks levy would raise about $84 million in the first fiscal year. There was a small percentage aimed towards capital maintenance projects, like repairing bathrooms and playgrounds, expected to raise another $2 million.
We know that we have buildings that are frankly falling apart in our parks. We have bathrooms that aren't operable because they need maintenance.
Well, we're already heavily taxed here in Multnomah County. I know that, but some things you've got to pay for to keep. I want to keep Portland going too. I want it to not die.
City Councilor Steve Novick represents District 3, much of Southeast Portland. He says the money from this increased levy would not go toward administrative costs.
The money from the parks levy will go to fundamental parks programs. Will go to keeping the outdoor parks clean and safe. Will go to keeping the pools and community centers open. It's not going to go to administrative overhead. I also think, at a time when people are worried about the future of Portland and to some extent the present of Portland, to keep something that people love, to keep a part of Portland that has been great and is still great is really important.
Portland Parks and Recreation declined to talk with us today on camera, citing legal reasons, saying that the language of the ballot measure is still being finalized. The Bureau will provide annual reports on how levy funds are being spent. Plus, a community oversight committee will review all levy spending and report that to City Council. Parks and Rec oversees more than 11,000 acres of parks, including 12 community and arts centers and 11 community pools. This new levy, if passed by voters in November, would pay for currently planned projects like a new indoor pool in North Portland, a skate park in Old Town, and improving 20 acres of natural area in deep Northeast. We're also told this will support options for low-income Portlanders to partake in park programs. But still, some people are not thrilled at the idea of paying more in taxes to live in Portland, and it begs the question, will all these increased fees push people out of Portland? We often hear the phrase, death by 1,000 cuts.
I think that people are more likely to leave when services deteriorate. Like when people talk about, they're moving because of the tax for preschool for all or the tax for homeless services, I think people are reacting to the fact that they're paying more and they don't see that they're getting anything back for it. Whereas people see what we're getting for the money we invest in parks, and I think it'd be much more likely that people would leave if the parks started deteriorating and they weren't clean and safe than if people are paying an extra $11 a month to keep them as good as they are.
Again, this is not final yet. All council did this week was approve the levy to appear on the November ballot. Voters in the city get the final say. If it passes, it will go into effect next year once the current levy expires. So talk to us. What do you think? Are you willing to pay, on average, another $130 per year to pay for the city's parks? Why or why not? Email us the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090.
Somewhere in the Treasury Department, Mr. President, locked away in a cabinet drawer, is a big Epstein file that's full of actionable information. Follow the money details about his financing and operations that await investigation.
Oregon Senator Ron Wyden, a high-ranking Democrat on the powerful Senate Finance Committee, claims the Treasury Department has files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and Wyden wants the Trump administration to release them. It's the latest in this saga that President Trump has tried to dismiss since the bombshell announcement earlier this month that the Justice Department would not be releasing any more Epstein files to the public, and that Epstein did not have a so-called client list. It's not just Democrats like Wyden calling for more records to be made public. Here's what Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina said this morning.
Why don't we just release it and deal with it? If it's embarrassing because it's not substantive, that's fine. If it's embarrassing because somebody's implicated, that's fine. We just need to solve it.
Okay, well, let's get back to what Senator Wyden revealed today regarding some of the financial files he claims sit in the Treasury Department. Wyden referenced this report in the New York Times published this morning that goes into greater detail of what some of Wyden's staffers found when going through confidential files. They say Epstein moved money through several banks to fuel his sex trafficking network.
Last year, the Biden administration allowed our investigators to look at portions of the file. We did that at the Treasury building. Here is what it says. Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Again, these are all potential leads, Mr. President, the Department of Justice ought to be digging into. This is about years and years of international sex trafficking. None of this is a hoax. None of it is a scam. And I'd like to say I consider it insulting to the intelligence of the American people for the Trump administration to simply say there is nothing to investigate here.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, when asked about releasing more Epstein files, leaned on a popular talking point.
The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did.
Senator Wyden argues that since the DOJ did such an exhaustive review of the files, why not give the files in the Treasury to Congress?
Have that Treasury information given to the Senate Finance Committee and have us on a bipartisan basis do our work. That's what we do in important investigations. If the Trump people believe they need additional authority to carry out the requests that I make again this afternoon, let me offer to help them write the bill myself. The idea that there is nothing more to investigate, not when you have 4,000 wire transfers, many of them associated with the possibility of wrongdoing and sex traffic promoting. The idea that you have that and there's nothing to investigate when it comes to the Epstein sex trafficking operation is ridiculous. Pam Bondi was the Attorney General in the state of Florida, where a lot of the Epstein crimes were committed. The Attorney General ought to know better, of all people.
So, what do you think about Wyden's push for more financial documents? Perhaps you side with the Trump administration, which clearly wants to put this issue in the past. Email us, thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Well, up next on The Story, we'll stay in D.C. because Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy finally gave an estimated cost for overhauling the nation's air traffic control systems. It's all part of a bold plan to get it done by 2028. Write down your guesses. Higher than you think. We'll have the answer when The Story returns. To Northeast Portland now, where Fred Meyer plans to close its Gateway location. It comes after parent company Kroger reported last month that some 60 stores would be shut down nationwide. So far, the company has not given a specific reason for the closure. Many speculate that safety and security issues in the area play a role. There's also no date yet for when the store will shutter. Alma McCarty has the latest.
At the Gateway Fred Meyer Wednesday afternoon,
That just shocked the mess out of me, hearing that.
customers stream in and out of the store, some stopping to react to its eventual shutdown.
The closing is not good, not for this area.
It's going to destroy the neighborhood. What are people around here going to do?
Corporate explaining this was a difficult decision, part of, quote, a larger company-wide decision to run more efficiently and ensure the long-term health of our business. Employees here will be offered the opportunity, they say, to transfer to a new location.
Gateway is the middle mark of everybody's travel on the bus, especially on the bus.
This store among the 60 locations that Kroger, the nation's largest supermarket chain, plans to close over the next 18 months. In a statement, a spokesperson for the workers' union said, while we are sad to see the Gateway Fred Meyer location close, our first priority is supporting our members, explaining union reps have been on site to discuss placement options. Shoppers like Mark Leslie can understand the why.
You can't go in the back door. It's all security, and it's a mess. And I just prefer, sometimes I go here, but seldom.
However, losing such a large supermarket he fears could have ripple effects.
The whole property, then it's going to sit vacant, and then you're going to have 500 people with tents here.
And even though there's a Winco across Northeast 102nd, Devin Wilson worries that too could spell trouble.
Now this Winco is now overwhelmed. This Winco is now overwhelmed with people. And this is a major place. I mean, Gateway is right there, right?
Well, this week we got our first public glimpse at just how much it could cost to overhaul the nation's air traffic control system. If you had to guess, you would likely come up short. According to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, the price tag is more than $31 billion. Back in May, Duffy and his department announced a plan to build a new air traffic control system by 2028. That includes more than 25,000 new radios and hundreds of new radar systems, along with the telecommunications infrastructure to go with them. But that's only if they can get the money from Congress. Under the president's big, beautiful bill, a $12.5 billion down payment was secured to get started.
We will need more to do it, but no offense to anybody, but the way Congress spends money, we're talking $31.5 billion to do the full project. And my hope is that we'll have an additional conversation about how we can do that. And I think time is of the essence. We can't wait 300 years. We can't wait, 13 years. We need to be doing this now.
Duffy noted that a couple systems in use now are well over 20 years old, and a new heart for the updated system is needed. If you think back to technology from the turn of the century compared to now, there's quite a difference.
The Common Automation Platform, the software that's going to run air traffic control, we're using one system from 1995 and another from 2000. We don't have an off-the-shelf product that's the software, the heart of the brand new system. That's going to take us time to get companies to come in and offer us what they think the product should be and try to sell us their product. So, and we don't have money in the big, beautiful bill for this part of it, but this is the critical part of the infrastructure. I want to get that started because, again, it's going to take us, 6-8 months to pick a company, and then we're going to have to debug it. That could be another 6, 8, 10 months to debug it before it's deployed.
Well, coming up next on The Story, we'll bring the show back to Portland. The co-owner of the city's oldest restaurant passed away this week. And Catherine Cook takes a look at the family legacy that stretches back more than a century when The Story returns. Well, the KGW school supply drive is gearing up to come back soon, but we need your help so we can help students head back to the classroom with everything they need. Visit kgw.com/school, sign up your business or organization, and we'll send you an official collection kit. That's kgw.com/school. Well, finally tonight, we remember a pillar of Portland's oldest restaurant. James Louie, co-owner of Huber's Cafe downtown, died earlier this week. Catherine Cook and photographer Kyle Connolly show us what he left behind in this edition of Pacific Storyland.
It's dinner time at Huber's Cafe, Portland's oldest restaurant. Open since 1879 and known best for its Spanish coffees, guests here have come to expect a little more.
Not just good food, but there's a lot of fellowship in here.
Most people will tell you James Kai Louie
This is like a breath of fresh air.
is the biggest reason for that.
Dad is the one that made Huber's what it is today. Whoever you were, he made you feel special.
Louie's son, James, says his father passed away Monday from sudden organ failure. He was 79.
So many people want to tell us their stories about Dad. So this has been comforting for us.
That includes manager Roxanne Lau.
We're doing this for him, and we're hugging each other a lot.
She started working here as a server 25 years ago. She says James always led by example.
You just want to do your best, and you see the elegance that he had just walking around the room, knowing everyone's name.
The walls inside Huber's are covered with accolades and family. In 1912, Louie's great-uncle Jim, a Chinese immigrant, began working at Huber's. Many decades later, the Huber family sold half the restaurant to him for $1. Since then, 4 generations of Louie's have owned it. That includes David Louie. His brother, James, meant the world to him.
He taught me how to play baseball, you know.
David points to the photo of Ted Williams hanging in the corner. James put it there.
He got me to root for the Boston Red Sox, which was, really painful because they didn't win. They never won, not until 2004.
The Louies know a lot about pushing through hard times, hoping for a win. Running the restaurant wasn't easy, especially during a low point in the 70s. The brothers agreed to put Huber's on the market, and it sold. But at the last minute, James changed his mind, and they pulled out of the deal.
Okay, we'll just keep plugging away at it. And
are you glad he changed?
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, it wasn't too long after that we started doing the Spanish coffees.
That signature drink put Huber's on the map. It also reminds James of something his father would often say.
We are in the business of showing people a good time. And I know my dad's line of thought was, well, when you have people over at your house, you want to give them the best.
It's what he gave everyone for 79 years. In downtown Portland, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Well, there's no doubt that many of you may have visited Huber's a time or two, considering it's the city's oldest restaurant. Maybe you met Mr. Louie during a visit. Share your memories with us. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. And if you have an idea for a Pacific Storyland segment, Catherine would love to hear from you. The best way to get in touch would be to email pacificstoryland@kgw.com. Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, we re-air it at 8:30 and 10:30 on our TV app, KGW+. You can also catch us the next day at 11:30 a.m. Download the free app now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Have a great Thursday night. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30.